Hey, it's Amethyst Virgo. Thank you for joining. This video is going to be about Larsa Pippen with the headline of a Cancer woman, Venus in Gemini, and Marcus Jordan with the headline of a Capricorn man with Venus in Capricorn. So I'm going to talk about like how their suns especially and how their Venus signs make it very clear to me why this relationship came together. Before I jump into all of that, if you stumbled upon my channel, thank you. This is my second channel, my main channel where all the action happens. It's Amethyst Virgo. So there should also be a link on this channel for that. That is where I dive deep into astrology. I have playlists. I have topics about life through the signs. I have planets through the signs. I have house cusps through the signs. I have information about Chiron, about Eros, Psyche. I have information about the North Node. I talk about career and astrology. I talk about relationships. I talk about aspects. I have tons of things on there for people who are really invested or appreciate astrology. So check that out on my other channel. I have some playlists that could help center some things. So on this channel, this is not the approach I necessarily do with my readings with clients. With clients, I go over everything. We talk about the chart placements, we talk about the ascendant, we talk about the degrees, I talk about the aspects. I go over each house. I talk about the theme of someone's chart, I answer the questions that they have. Now, that's usually a 2.5 hour process. So this is not the way I do readings, but I do, you can glean how to interpret certain energy from this. So let's jump in. What is the first thing I see? Tell people, what's the first thing you notice when you look at someone's chart? It may not always be the ascendant. Now, what I do want to share is that Marcus Jordan's time is an A rating on the Rodin rating system. In the astrology community, this is the way you verify. So AA would be if you have a record. A is if it's from memory, and then it goes from there. How to verify how accurate the birth time is. X would be like Larsa Pippen. I don't know her birth time. Try to find it, can't find anything. Marcus Jordan, however, there is information online where it's 5:30 is apparently a time that was recorded from memory. When something is recorded from memory in astrology in the Rodin system, Rodin rating, it is okay. From memory can mean, it doesn't mean like he's like, hey, I remember being born at 5:30. It's I remember my parents telling me I was born at 5:30. So like in an interview where someone asked Marcus, he must have said this, or his parents might have. You know, sometimes parents are telling a story, and this could have been years ago, right? But in someone, it's in the media or something, and somebody maybe announced, oh, Michael Jordan welcomes a child, right? 5:30 in the morning. Or it could be his parents were in an interview and they're like, I remember my first, born son was born at 5:30, right? So that's what I mean by this is a time that could be, different. When it's recorded from memory, it's not exact, but he was born around that time, basically, according to what we have. Larsa, we don't have a time for. So his chart, we can see the actual houses. Larsa's, we will not be able to. Before we jump into that, if you need a quick history lesson, okay. Marcus Jordan is the son of Michael Jordan. You all know who Michael Jordan is, I'm assuming. If not, you gotta look it up. But Michael Jordan, super, super, super famous former basketball player. He also played baseball for a little bit. I did a video on Michael Jordan on this channel if you want to check that out. But the point here is that that's his son. And Larsa Pippen is the ex-wife of Scottie Pippen. Scottie Pippen and Michael Jordan were teammates for many, 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 many years for the Chicago Bulls together. They were friends. I know recently there's been a rift between them. So I don't know they would consider themselves friends now. But a lot of people were like, wait, Larsa's in her 40s, Marcus in his 30s. I mean, controversy for some people is a lot of speculation. A lot of speculation about, wait, he's 32, she's 49. She knew him as a kid. And actually, in a recent interview, Michael Jordan is kind of hands off with wanting to talk about this. But in a recent interview, he basically said our families do know each other. We're in the same circles. But he said that actually they have not known each other as long as people may think. So it's actually not clear when she would have met him. And a lot of people are just sensationalizing it. Like, well, not that, that sensationalizing it in the fact of, but if she met him as a kid, it's still inappropriate to date him as an adult, or whatever the situation may be. But regardless, age gap relationships happen. That is not an anomaly, really. They are both adults, but yet this is still a conversation. There's still a lot of, controversy that was left over from Larsa and Scotty's divorce and all of that. So that's why it's been a little messy in terms of, the people reporting on this relationship and making a lot of, making a lot of comments. As you see, they are both adults, right? She is just turned 49. She is a Cancer. And he recently, let me see if I can pull up. He recently wished her a happy birthday. He called her the best mom and wife. They're not married, but he called her wife. I don't know. But she loves that. She's a Cancer woman. Okay, let me get into that in a moment. I'm gonna get into that in a moment. She's a Cancer woman. She loves that sentimental stuff. She's turned 49, and Marcus is obviously 32. And so there is an age difference of 17 years. Okay. And age gap relationships happen all the time. If people are consenting adults, you can do what you need to do. And there's typically, once you hit a certain age, he's in his 30s. This man's 32. He's not a 20-year-old. He's not a 19-year-old. He didn't just turn 18. He's a grown man. However, people are like, but it's weird because Larsa was married to his dad's friend, right? Like, that's weird. Like, she knew him as a kid. Like, why would she date him? All right. And then this question around, are they doing it to get back at each other? Back at someone? Is Marcus trying to do it to get back at his family? Is Larsa trying to get back at Scotty? So I'm going to talk about what I think about that in a moment. But first, let's jump into these sun signs. A Capricorn and a Cancer are opposite signs. Okay. Nurturing of the Cancer energy that deals a lot with, the sentiment, the emotions, the emotional need in a way. Emotional need in terms of how to feel confident about oneself. Larsa is a Sun and Cancer woman. She feels confident when she feels a man has her back, right? Especially through the 14th degree. I do work with degrees and analyze those. But she's an Aquarius moon. So she can sometimes be a little detached, especially when she likely doesn't get what she wants. When she doesn't get the attention she wants, she can get detached, which is likely what happened with her and Scotty. They originally filed for divorce, and he filed for divorce in 2016. And I know at the point there was allegedly some, I don't know if I think this was before they were divorced, she had dated or seen or did some type of interaction with Future, the rapper. So that was a whole controversial type of thing as well. So that moon in Aquarius can detach quickly. Okay. 8th degree, she feels things very deeply, but when she feels like things are not measuring up, she likely can detach in a way where she feels a little bit more like, I need to be out. I'm going to do what I want to do. And that's where you saw a lot of Larsa with, the Kardashians. She used to hang out with them a lot. People like, well, she's a mother and she's this and she's that. But she, she's on the scene. She cares about her image. She does get plastic surgery. She's trying to view herself the way she wants. She's got Jupiter and Pisces. So she's likely always like trying to, imagine and expand this idea of what she thinks beauty is for her. Okay. But Venus is squaring Jupiter. She has to be careful with the surgeries. All right. She needs to be careful. Again, I'm not a doctor, I'm not a surgeon, but especially when we know like a lot of women are going under the knife, and unfortunately, like, there can be some complications. So I would say with Venus squaring Jupiter, she might, want to, make sure she knows when enough is enough. Knows when she knows enough, have that kind of self-confidence, not rely on confidence just from the outside world, but also build into herself. Because she's a high sense of self. She's a high sense of what she wants to be. She cares about her status. She cares about being seen as somebody who is important. Sun is conjunct Saturn. And she likes attention. She likes attention but she drives attention to herself. Mars and Leo. That's not always a bad thing. Sometimes you have to kind of have that bold energy. So what I say, is she doing this to get back at Scotty? Even if she did it in the beginning, I don't think so. I think she likes the attention from it. I don't think she's dating Marcus just to get back at Scotty. And I say this because the energy in Marcus and Larsa's, the energy they share together shows there is a connection. I mean, what else? Jupiter, it makes an aspect to her Mars, conjuncting her Mars, his Jupiter. Her Jupiter and his moon are conjunct, right? Let's see what else. So there's some shared energy here, okay? Here's what I mean by shared energy. There is an attraction and a draw to each other. whether this is a relationship that lasts a long time or not, I would say there is something to it that is real. Okay. Regardless of what their intentions were in the beginning. All right, Venus and Gemini can be very flirty, can be very much into what, where the wind blows. First, it was just, oh, let's just go on a date. Venus and Gemini will entertain things. All right, fine, let's go on a date. Let's go out. Let's do it. Okay. He's got a Venus in Capricorn. So he's looking at it more in the long term. He likely was viewing the situation from like, I wonder what this can turn into, right? Like he probably was thinking a little bit more, especially with his Mercury being in Capricorn, of a little bit more of like, what is this? Defining it. I wouldn't be surprised if Marcus defined it first, what the relationship was. Now, what I do want to say, and when I do these flash readings, sometimes I forget things I want to say. Before I move on to Venus with Marcus, is people might assume, oh, she's older, she's a cougar, she went after him, she's running the show. Actually, I think Marcus, his chart shows he's got some like very, strong energy. He's got this Capricorn stellium. So he knows how to take command when he needs to take command. He knows how to be grounded. And I think she likes that about him. And I think she knows what to expect from Marcus. And I think that's what she likes. Scotty is a Libra. So first of all, even though we might look at the opposition has more in common than it thinks. An opposition just has to find balance and let each other lead where they need to lead. That's what the opposition needs to do. Hey, you got this Capricorn, got it. You got this Cancer, great. So now together, Cancer and Capricorn is good together, especially for couples in a family unit. Okay? Because you have the Cancer taking care of the household. It doesn't have to mean that's what a person has to do, because it could be the woman or the man. I'm not getting into the whole like gender role thing, but I'm talking about Cancer is doting. Cancer is responsible for the emotional nurturing and the care and the feelings and the connection. Capricorn is responsible for the provisions, for the protection, for making sure, the family is safe, that they have what they need, that their family is in some way growing in a way that promotes some level of financial stability. Hey, we lived here for 5 years. Now we're moving on to another house in a better area, in a better neighborhood, whatever, right? So it's an opposing energy. Now, her sun and his sun are not directly opposing because they're getting far apart, 2 degrees and 14 degrees. But you do see some of their other energy directly squares. Saturn squares Uranus, right? Which can represent this kind of surprise relationship. This was a surprise in a way, right? That this would even come about the way that it did. Okay. But their aspect, the Saturn squaring Uranus, surprise nature of their relationship means something for them. But for him, it means he's a little spontaneous guy sometimes. Sometimes he can, be really, he's rebellious a little bit. But he's not so rebellious that he's going to tarnish the family name. Now, he did get in trouble a little bit when he was younger, disorderly conduct when he was drunk. And, there were some stories about him when he was younger, spending a lot of money, being a little, and again, he also has Jupiter and Leo. So that's not really that surprising. It seems like he's toned it down, though. So the point that I'm making is she actually wants a man that is going to take care, not just financially, but she wants a man that kind of take the lead. She doesn't like having to make all the decisions. I need to know where you stand. And I think she likes that about Marcus. Whereas with Scotty, I haven't analyzed Scotty's chart. So let me say this. I'm not saying this is an absolute. None of this is an absolute. This is all for entertainment purposes and astrological teaching purposes. I'm not judging Larsa. I'm not judging Marcus. They're consenting adults. They can do what they need to do. But I'm just talking about the astrology of it and what this is suggesting. So what this suggests, though, is that Scottie Pippen being a Libra means there could have been times where she didn't. And again, Libras can be, a lot of people like Libras. Libras can be, they're pals. Everybody loves Libra. They like being around Libra. But in relationships, some people can struggle with feeling like Libras are a little bit indecisive. They don't know what they want. And he's going to be very different from, not just the age, he's going to be very different in personality from Scotty, because Scotty's got his Libra at the 2nd degree and he's got his Capricorn at the 2nd degree. So she's having a very different experience with Marcus. Again, it's not to say that her and Scotty didn't have good times or anything like that, but it's saying what she needs right now is different. She was 23 when she got married. She's now in her 40s. She now understands more what she wants in a relationship. And I think that's likely what happened between her and Scotty. Now, if we look here, his Venus in Capricorn made sense to me because I tell people a lot, look at his Venus conjunct Saturn is Venus in a Capricorn degree. It's Venus in Capricorn. Because you see, Venus in Capricorn can be about Venus in Capricorn appreciates what is traditional, and again, Larsa is not that traditional of a woman, but she does in terms of what she wants, probably within her actual romantic relationships. We don't know these people. We only know what celebrities are showing us. So sometimes we have to be careful with, oh, that person doesn't do that. She's not traditional, but when she's at home, maybe she does want the man to lead. I don't know, right? I'm just saying. But Venus in Capricorn is appreciation for older women. Appreciation for women he feels has some level of value. By value meaning he does kind of like that she's adding value to my life, right? She is, yes, in a sense, regardless of what people may say about age, she's a trophy wife type, you know. So with Venus being in the second house, Venus is at home here in his chart, and so Venus being in Capricorn means he is very much someone who he's looking at, can I build with her? I do think that he's taking this seriously. Okay. What's also like here is the 15th degree in the system I use is associated with Gemini, and Venus is in Gemini in her chart. So even though Venus in Capricorn and Venus in Gemini do not really have a connection in terms of aspects. Like, I mean, there's not a conjunct, it's not a square, it's not a, opposition, it's not a sextile, but they are in conjunct signs. So Gemini and Capricorn have different ways they appreciate love, that they appreciate life, that they deal with life, how they deal with money. He's gotten money given to him. Jupiter's in the 8th house, inheritance. He's gotten inheritance from somebody's fame and someone's dream, Michael, right? So it's not just inheritance. Like, I'm not saying Marcus doesn't make his own money now. I'm saying that he has benefited from being a part of a family that had money, like being part of his father's legacy. A video on my other channel about the father, like your sun placement can help you understand your relationship with your father, in addition to the sun telling you information about you. Because in astrology, the moon is mother and the sun is father. And his son being in the first house, his dad definitely had an impact on him. Capricorn, showing him a lot of how to be disciplined, how to have some self-control, right? And Uranus, the sun conjunct Uranus, though, he was meant to be different from his father, though. If we look at like sun conjunct Uranus, so like his rebellion a little bit, needing to find his own way. And that might have taken a little time to fully understand what it is he wants to be. But even with Jupiter being in his 8th house, his Sagittarius ascendant is his desire to explore life on his own terms. If you think Marcus Jordan is the type of son to be like, okay, dad, you don't like who I'm with, I'm going to break up with her. No, right there. He's someone who's trying to find his own way, and he's going for what it is that he truly wants. And with Jupiter being in Leo, I think even though like we could look at him and like, in his pictures, he smiles a little bit with her, but he doesn't really have an expressive he doesn't look very expressive in most pictures, but I do think she brings out kind of that youthful energy in him. So though he's kind of a Capricorn nature, but when he's with her, he's like, oh, I'm the young girl, right? So it's a balance between like, he knows likely how to balance between being fun and interesting in this relationship, but also Capricorn, like he's more decisive about some of the things. And I think that for him, it's not that he likes the attention from dating Larsa Pippen. It is that he is looking at it like, this is my life and this is what I want and this is what I'm doing. I don't care really what other people are saying. She's not necessarily doing it for the attention, but she'll take the attention. She's Mars and Leo. Mars and Leo is the showstopper. Mars and Leo also is an energy where she, there's a boldness to her. There is she can sometimes come off a way in which she is, she likes to show the things that she has, that she does, right? She's not a very quiet, under the surface type of woman, but I wouldn't say she's not brash or anything like that. She just kind of, really leans into the attention that she sometimes get. The other thing when I said about Larsa and the plastic surgery, Venus is also creating that opposition to Neptune in her chart, right? So she has to be careful with like not thinking she's good enough and, the surgeries and things like that. Now, again, she was, people in status, Sun conjunct Saturn, no matter what, she was going to be in her life, she was going to prioritize status, no matter what, right? Whether she'd married Pippen or someone else. But the point that I'm going to make is that it's, because of those things, there's been a lot of pressure to present and look a certain way. And they have an interesting dynamic. I wouldn't be surprised if, like, he's Mars in Taurus, Jupiter and Leo. Okay. and a moon in Pisces. He idealizes the situation. So moon in Pisces, moon is in the third house. Okay, so what I think about the moon being in his third house off the bat is the importance that he has with communication in terms of his partners. And he has Aquarius on the cusp of his third house, and she is a moon in Aquarius. So I think that's important. And also, she's a Venus in Gemini, and we know Gemini is an air sign. So for him, there is this kind of importance of like, I need someone to listen to me. I need someone to talk to. I need someone to empathize with me as a moon in Pisces. I need someone to understand where I'm coming from. I need a woman who is supportive of my dreams. He has his moon at the 24th degree and Jupiter at the 12th degree. 12 plus 12, 24. These are both Pisces degrees. Jupiter can deal with the spouse. Moon is obviously our own internal reflection. Reflection, but also responsiveness to things emotionally. But also that moon could be how you relate to women, right? And so, even when we look at him, this moon in Pisces here, he appreciates that there's a softness in the way she speaks. They both have retrogrades, right? They both have worked on their communication likely, or need to work on their communication. But they likely have a shared story about communication and relationship. There's something they've shared, right? Even though their ages are different. The reason I bring that up is because he has his Mercury in the first house. Mercury in the first house, I need to be heard. I need to be listened to. Not that she has to listen to me and do what I say. I need people to listen that I have a thought. And I need for them to understand my thought. I need them to. Now, what I do see here is with Mercury in the opposition is working together. Because a Mercury and Cancer person needs a little bit more softness in how they're spoken to. She pays attention to those things. And he has Mercury in the first house of assertion. So just being careful within that. She might be used to some difficulties in communication and relationships. Again, this is not me bashing Scotty. I would have to look at his chart, but I'm saying there could have been some difficulties because she's a Mercury at the 5th degree in Cancer, and Scotty is a Mercury at the 0 degree in Libra. And so that's square energy. So her and Scotty actually have quite a few squares going on. Now he's a moon in Libra. It says Scotty's a moon in Libra. It actually means that again, people have to understand just because people break up or have a divorce doesn't mean there wasn't a connection. So when we see the connection in astrology, it helps us see what brought those people together in the first place or stay together. So their moons, I don't know Scotty's exact degree of his moon, but they could have been trying. Either way, they have air moons, okay? Right? So she's used to some level of communication in a relationship, but now she has the opportunity to hopefully work on it in ways that allow for there to be a better stream and of a line of feeling like she is being heard, right? Mercury in Cancer needs to feel heard. Like you heard what I said and you actually do something to take care of me. You do something to make me feel better. I said I didn't like this, and someone might say, so that's what you have to watch it with the Mercury and Capricorn. Is Mercury and Libra could have issues with Cancer, but Mercury and Libra is trying to get the perspective a little bit more. Capricorn is very straight to the point, single-minded. This is what it is, right? But when a person uses that Capricorn energy to do something about it, that can really support the needs of the Cancer person. I hope that makes sense. Like, it's working with both energies, but if there's a point where she needs more in terms of like feeling reassured, Cancer women kind of like that. That's why I said when he bought her flowers and said, "You're the best mom and wife." Again, I don't know about the wife part because unless they snuck and got married, I don't know what that is, unless he's calling her like wifey, but he said wife. That sentimental stuff, that's great for a Cancer. Cancer wants to feel appreciated. You show the world you care about me. That's a Sun and Cancer person, especially Sun conjunct Saturn could be image, reputation. Show the world you care about me, Marcus, right? And not to say she says that. This seemed like something he just kind of did on his own to show appreciation. Mars, again, like I said, it's important to note that I wouldn't be surprised if she was flirtier first, right? Because Mars and Taurus takes a long time to kind of do something. Mars and Taurus and he's got it in retrograde. So though he has some businesses, and I think he still does have them, and he can have some great ideas, visionary ideas for what he wants to do. And his North Node is in the second house. So it is going to be important for him to build up himself financially, to really fulfill himself and see his own success outside of just being a Jordan. But that Mars in that 6th house, he has to pay attention to daily things. He can't let daily things slip by and put them off and procrastinate. Oh, I'll do it later. Oh, it'll happen eventually. He's got to be careful with that, most likely. Now, I don't want to go into any extremes or talk about anything else. Pluto being in 12th house, it's interesting. I don't really think this is significant to this particular reading. But you know, I'm glad to hear that he's doing well. Pluto can represent some substance abuse or addiction for some people. It doesn't sound like he has that issue. So likely Pluto for him is about the importance of empowering himself and at some point in his life getting more spiritually adept to what he believes. At some point in his life, you know, maybe even evolving in terms of his beliefs and his philosophies on life, and understanding that there can be things that you grow and are important beyond just the things you earn. He's got this second house stellium, this first house stellium, self and building up and having evidence and money related to it is important to him, as is important to many people. But you know, this is not a birth chart reading, but Pluto would have been, if it was a birth chart reading, talked about a little bit more, and I would have pulled up some other asteroids and things as well. I don't think this is for attention anymore. I'm not saying it wasn't beginning. Like I said, Larsa will take the attention. She will. But I do think there is something to this relationship that they're enjoying with each other. I even like the moon. Like I said earlier, I don't know if I said it earlier, the moon conjunct his moon conjunct her Jupiter, 7 degrees, getting a little far, but that, and his Jupiter conjuncting her Mars. Mars can represent a woman who, you know, dates men's charts, what she's attracted to in the masculine. And Mars and Leo, she's attracted to men who have status. Yeah, you gotta have status, you gotta have skill. Mars and Leo doesn't always mean status, right? It means skill. It can mean, for some Mars and Leo women, there's something about you where you take command, you have courage, you have heart. A man who has heart, or a man who's humorous, also could be Leo, or a man who has status and power. She's drawn to that, and his Jupiter is obviously Leo, but right, and I think what matches that is though Capricorn and Leo are in conjunct quincunx signs. He's got all this Capricorn energy where no matter what, that's going to be important to him, right? So that's it for this reading. You know, I do think that they have a connection based on the astrology of it. There's you know, there's the potential here for this to last a little bit longer. You know, in terms of if they would get married or not, I think that would be like a tarot reading that I'm not really doing at this moment. But I do think here, looking at this, you can see the connection, the Venus and Gemini, like in lighthearted, fun, young folks. That's the Venus and Gemini. Gemini is young energy, and Capricorn is older energy. And so you definitely can see this through their Venus signs.